Hello everyone, thanks for joining. So something a bit different today. I'm going to actually review this Model Rail magazine. This is for April 2024, so it's just brand new out. It's number 324, and the headline there is Simply Stunning. And you'll see some other things which are coming up inside this magazine, and I thought we could have a look at it together. One of the things you'll notice up here at the top, it says the UK's best value modelling magazine. Now I'm not sure what they're measuring value against, but I actually get this through Tesco Club Card points, so for me this is a very cheap magazine and very good value for money. You can see that it has some information about the Bachmann Class 31, I'm going to have to be careful on that one, and about Rapido tackling the Fireless 040, which is quite an interesting model. I saw that at Model Rail Scotland actually. It also has down in the bottom about barrels of fun, about weathering tanker wagons, which is great because every manufacturer seems to be doing TTA tank wagons this year. And then there's some other reviews as well, including the Ellis Clark Black 5, which I've seen in the flesh again at Model Rail Scotland, and it absolutely looks fantastic, that model. Not sure about the others. Anyway, let's get into this magazine and see what we've got. So first of all, the usual advertising, and then the intro from George Dent. Now this guy, he must have figured out how to live without actually falling asleep, because I've never known somebody so busy and productive as this guy. Not only does he edit this magazine, he also does a huge amount of modelling. He probably does more modelling in a month than I do in a year, so hats off to him. And I see he's invested in a flat cap as well. Pretty cool. In his editorial, he's talking about going up to Scotland to go to Model Rail Scotland. Now, I didn't actually see him when I was there. He might have gone on a different day from me. Anyway, let's see what else there is. So the first thing we get is a double-page spread all about Bachmann, and it's talking about the details of the locomotives and rolling stock, which they announced in their spring 2024 video. Anyway, they're talking about it all here. And it continues again over to page 2, where we get some more details, including the end gauge stuff over here on the left. So this is almost like Bachmann have sponsored this first section. So up here is a short section about Model Rail Scotland, and that was a really cool event I attended. And then they're talking here about the Rapido smokeless locomotive, very cool. Something interesting and different that's been brought to market, so that was good. And they have a full page advert about it here as well. And up here it's talking about Helgen revealing a Bear Garrett. I'm sure that came out from a different manufacturer. I'm not sure we need more of these, but anyway, okay, they're making one as well. Rapido delivering Caledonian goods wagons. That's nice, I quite like Scottish stuff, as you could imagine. And then they're talking about Acura Scales little Ruston shunter in O gauge, and it's their first entry into O gauge, so that'll be quite interesting to watch what happens with that. And also they've acquired Hatton's tooling. That's pretty cool. So this is something very interesting to me. It looks like the Scottish Railway Preservation Society has commissioned a Cura scale to make the Class 37 number 403 Isle of Mull. I have seen this loads of time. I've been to Bowness quite a lot. So that's really good that they've done that, and I hope they sell that in the little shop that they've got down there on the railway, because they really need the funds and they do a great job on that railway. And there's a few other things here. And this is usually where it gets quite interesting for me, because it's all the little parts. I like the idea of the 3D printed wagon parts. That's quite cool. A little editorial here from Bachmann about their buses that are still trying to get rid of. And then there's other bits and pieces. You can see the influence that 3D printing has had on the market. I mean, there's a 3D printed guy pushing a trolley there, which is quite interesting. This is really good, the lifeboat one. This has been done by Scale Scene, and that looks really good. I wonder if it comes fully painted like that. That's really very, very good. And here we have George on the workbench already, and he's talking about some tools and a faded look, which looks like some kind of weathering tools. And here's a very expensive tree that you can buy for £21. I think these trees are really expensive. I'm going to do a video quite soon about some trees I got off Temu, and you can see what you think of those. And then there's the usual diary. And then there's this bit here where they make some funny scene, and they've got a horse pulling a coach at the moment, so that's quite good. I quite like that. It adds a bit of humour into the hobby, which it desperately needs. And then we always get this section, which is about real railways. I'm not so keen on this. I think this should be in a different magazine. I'm not sure why it's here. It feels a bit like a filler. Now we come on to staff show and tell, where the people working here show what they've been working on, and George Dent is always doing loads of stuff. Like I said, this guy must never sleep. So here he's doing another weathering job on a Class 11, and that actually looks really good. I'm quite impressed, and I like the figure as well. He's done really good with that. There's a couple other things here. This is quite interesting about painting up the sides of Mark III coaches. I'm never that good with this type of masking tape. It never works 100% for me, and I always kind of opt for transfers if I can. But an interesting piece here nonetheless. Now we get Ben Ando from Revolution Trains. He's a guy who looks like he wouldn't take kindly if you spilt his pint in the pub, but he's always got something interesting to say. So he starts off by talking about the Model Rail Scotland exhibition as well, and he's also talking about some technical details about the production of the Class 320. I think we need more modern EMUs and DMUs, and it's good that they're doing that. And then the other picture here is highlighting Tulloch Bridge. And I've seen this layout a few times and I think it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely captures railway stations here in Scotland, and it's got some Revolution PCA tanks, which they're highlighting here with this picture. Model of the year 2023, the results. Now I actually found out that Rapido wins quite a lot here even before I opened this magazine, so well done to them. But you can see Accurascale have got a lot of mention here too, and they get first prize for the best diesel locomotive, which is their class 37. A nice looking model. So there's other categories here. Bachmann 1009 model of the year. I'm not sure there would be many contenders for that one. And N-Gauge, well, it's Revolution and Rapido again. So it's what I would call the young pretenders coming into the market. Okay, these have been around for a while, but they're certainly not as long-lived as maybe Hornby or Bachmann are. It's good to see that they're doing good here though. O-Gauge, it's Ellis Clark trains. I saw this as well at Model Rail Scotland. It's really highly detailed and it's an interesting model as well. And Dapple gets first place for the rolling stock. So the overall manufacturer of the year, Accurascale and then Rapido. Who would have thought? So this is the first of the layouts which has been reviewed this month. Back to the Future. So this is from Colin Chisholm's layout, and it's a Great Western Rail branch line in a pre-grouping scenario. Now I'm not a big fan of the Great Western, and I think Great Western branch lines are done to death, but this one does look very good. This double page spread here really has got some great detail. I love the foliage here, and the railway tracks look as though they're part of the landscape, and the building is really good as well with some good weathering on it, so it's looking good so far. It's not often that I read this stuff up here. I just usually look at the pictures and it gives a lot of inspiration normally, and I think this one is no exception. The track work looks really good. I think there's maybe some details on this locomotive which could have been tightened up a little bit, but it does look good overall, and it's got these characterful coaches behind. Things we like, they're talking about the fire buckets on the station and the animals which are in the field. It looks like a couple of sheep, and the overgrown private siding protected by a gate. That's a nice touch. So another scene here showing some cows' arses. And now we get to see the sheep's arses. Brilliant. Even though it's very simple, I think he's done it very well. And it's a good example of where you don't have to pack your layout with track in order for it to be really cool. Now we see the back of a shed. Great. So the track plan for Colin's layout is very simple, but I do like it. There's a lot of space for greenery and a lot of space for the models to breathe as well. So well done, Colin. Great layout. This is a common section in this magazine where they feature a specific locomotive or era or something like that on the real railways, and they talk about it in depth. But this month it's all about the 2MT, and every month there's a highly detailed description about something about the real railways that you can use for inspiration. And this is quite interesting as well. They always lead with the description pages of the real one and then show you how you can model it. And this again looks really good. George Dent again, but it looks like he's done a really good job of weathering and detailing this model here anyway. And this is always really good. Lots of tips. I've learned a lot from stuff like this, and George is really quite skilled in what he does. Now we're on to the workbench section where they talk about some more things they've been working on. Well, there's plenty of tank wagons being produced and released this year. Again, George Dent is doing this modelling and doing the writing and the editing. This guy needs a holiday. We should club together and give him a 2-week break in Ibiza or something. So now we've got Peter Marriott talking about how to make some foliage out of sea moss. And Peter also goes on to talk about building Fowey. Goes into a lot of depth over here. So this spread here was quite unexpected. It's talking about a guy called Philip Mason who's made a 3mm model railway, and that's a scale not served well by the main manufacturers, I think. So this looks like a lot of scratch building has happened here, but it does show some of the things that they've done here, including making brass catenary, and that's a complicated thing to do, I can tell you. It does actually look as though he's made these bodies out of resin himself, so this is a complete labour of love on this one, and it's quite impressive. I really like this guy hanging out the forklift truck as well. It looks absolutely crazy. Almost like he's stolen it though. Here's Phil himself over here. Crazy guy doing this, but well done. Okay, we're on to the review section. This is always quite interesting. So the big hitter here, quite an impressive locomotive, the Cavalex Models Class 56. I saw them at Model Rail Scotland and I did actually see this model. Looks quite interesting. 56s aren't my thing though, and it's also good when Model Rail does a review of a model that gives you some information about the real one and the different variations that it had. So that's quite interesting, that's been added in. It also gives you this tech spec as well of the locomotive. And what is it saying here? Lots of pros and absolutely no cons as well. Could this be the best ready to run 00 diesel to date? Well, I don't know. Comments below if you believe it is. Now we've got this Southern Region Booster Coco. That's an amazing colour of green they've put on there. It almost looks like Kermit the Frog. And what a collection of lights it's got on the front. I'm not sure the size of the market for this locomotive. It'd probably be quite niche. And again, you get the fact file here, technical layout, and a few pros and a couple of cons, including occasional derailment. Okay, now they've got the Ellis Clark Trains LMS Black 5 in O gauge. I'm not sure they're going to really be able to fault this. It is quite expensive though, $1,175 with DCC sound fitted, but to me this is probably a good investment. I can't imagine this going down in value over time. Of course, it tells you about the Black 5 here. So up here again, a lot of pros and just one con about fiddly local tender power coupling. They conclude that this is a superb model, and I would tend to agree as well. Now they've got a Hornby model, which is a Big 4 limited edition version of the Fowler, and it says the cons here, certain aspects of the tooling beginning to show its age, and they're asking for $189.99 for that model. Not sure that's such a good deal. And then they have the Hornby LMS Class 8F, which is coming in at $249.99. Very expensive model, this one, and they do point that out here. That is expensive, a welcome return, but not without a few issues. So not the best that Hornby's ever done. And now the PCA wagon. We heard Ben talking about this earlier in the magazine, and here it is here. So these are coming in at $169.95 for a 4-pack, which is quite expensive for wagons, but these are really detailed wagons, and that's reflected in the summary, which has got a lot of pros and no cons as well. So that's a lot of adverts that we just flicked through there. And now we're almost at the end of the magazine. So present your case. It's usually a prototype that hasn't been done before. And they're talking about the A7 here and telling you why this should be produced by some manufacturer. And then just at the back of the magazine, we have the back scene with Chris Lay. And in this issue, he's actually talking about the death of the hobby. And he draws his own conclusions that the hobby isn't dying. I kind of tend to agree, but it depends how you define the hobby. Railway modelling, and then there's model railwaying. One of those I think is going to decline. I'm not sure the other is. And that's your Model Rail April 2024. Interesting magazine, some great stuff. Love the cover layout, but the reviews didn't really tempt me much, apart from Ellis Clark's Black 5, but I absolutely can't afford that. So hope you liked the video. Pick up your copy of Model Rail soon. It's a good magazine. And like I said, you can get it through Tesco Club Card points, which is a bonus. Don't forget, like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.